Hello, this is a message to Manny Pacquiao, the boxer, an incredible leader in the Philippines. You've been doing a lot of philanthropic work. I really admire what I've read that you're doing, and I've got a new friend who knows you. He's been attending church Bible studies up in out in Los Angeles. I just met him. And I've got another friend who knows your manager. Let's see, what was your manager's name? I wrote it down here somewhere. I don't have it handy. But I got another friend who knows your manager and her son, who's out here in Los Angeles right now. So I got a couple good connections to you. I believe they're going to send a link to this video, and you're going to see it really soon. So I'm aware of what's going on in the Philippines, and there's this extreme poverty, and so that's why I held up that book about ending hunger. In the 1970s, I joined the Hunger Project, which is what that book is about. And it was the idea that people came together to end hunger globally just by talking about it and challenging the world to end hunger wherever it is. So in the Philippines, it's especially bad. In the United States, we've got millions of kids going hungry, millions of adults, and our leaders give food stamps to some of them, probably a minority, and those people run out before they don't even last a month. So every month they get about $300, and in a family of 2 or 3 or 4, they get a little bit more, but it's inadequate, and they run out and they end up going hungry. And I know in the Philippines, I've seen some really high quality videos of this American has gone into the slums where you can see garbage everywhere. And then they're so poor that they go around to the restaurants and dig the half-eaten food out of the garbage. And, you know, they go to the fried chicken restaurants, half-eaten pieces of chicken, bring it home in a bag. They pick out the meat, then they fry it up, and then they eat it, and then they sell it to poor people in their community. That is about as disgusting as it gets. So I just want to speak here about how that might be able to change. So 20 years ago, I created an idea called The Mission, which is about delivering radical solutions to people who are in crisis around the world. Like, I've got a poster here, a big poster with 100 celebrities who are on missions, and it says, The Mission, the ultimate reality adventure. $1 billion, 10 poverty eradication projects. Imagine the possibilities. So imagine if you could have $1 billion, and there's a bunch of billionaires out there who have donated $1 billion, like Ted Turner, to a variety of different causes. And so reading about him actually is one of the things that inspired me. I have him on the poster. If you take $1 billion and you put $100 million in 10 different slums in the Philippines where the kids are eating garbage or going hungry, and you film the whole thing. Can you imagine? All the people would be so excited and happy. And they'd be saying, "Yay, America." And the positive emotions would spread throughout your country and potentially throughout the world as people watched that show. And over in America, we'd start to feel good about ourselves. Instead of, we're spending $1 trillion a year on war, and we're bombing people in the Middle East, and just on the first day of the war in in Iran, Trump ordered a strike on a girls' school. That was no accident, my friend. We've got satellites right above them that can see a wart on a gnat's ass. This is what I heard. Okay, so they get a bird's eye view. They can see exactly what's going on. Trump probably pushed the button. He's watching on a big screen TV. Boom, and they see all the little kids scrambling around, some of them blown apart. And then all the adults show up in the ambulances and everybody's crying. And it's really disgusting. So let me tell you, the reason why they're like this is because they have severe hardening of the heart. You've been reading this Bible, and it's right in here. Sin enters in you and you die. And then you've got a hard heart, and then you act in a sinful way. It says in here, right in the beginning of the Psalms, let's see, this is really important. The book of Psalms. So my friend goes to Bible study with you, and what's his name? Rutherford, Pastor Rutherford. I delivered my proposals, and I showed his staff my Bibles, and I told him what I'm going to tell you. Several years ago, I met maybe 10 people there, and I showed them my Bibles that it was given to me by Chaplain George Russell Barber back in the year 2000. Let's see, that's too bright. Yeah, there's his signature. So, Colonel Barber, chaplain 3 wars, World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War. So he was the last living chaplain when I met him who landed on Normandy Beach on D-Day. I was introduced to him by Erwin Pardue, who was the CIA liaison to JFK in the White House when JFK was president. So I got to know him over the next 20 years, and he told me what's going on in the circle of our leaders. They're batshit crazy. Okay, so sorry for those who love Trump. Shoot, we're going to set him straight real soon. God has a plan. But here's what it says right here. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. That's Psalm 1. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. So this is a book for success. I'm sure you know that. A lot of people don't know that, which is why I'm working really hard to get on the podcast, the YouTube channel of Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They're Marines. And Leif Babin lives right 5 minutes from me down here in Austin. And I've been communicating with him for almost a year. His buddy, who is also a Marine, they both fought in the Iraq War. And they have 2 million followers on their YouTube channel. I've been sending him messages too, to say, let's go on your channel and talk about this stuff here that can heal all the veterans who are killing themselves 22 a day. I just did a video to Jocko Willink, and he was taking the devil's advocate position on war. If war was so fun, then we wouldn't have 22 veterans killing themselves every day who went to war. That proves my point that I made in the video to him. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind drives away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. And I believe that's coming real soon. according to God's plan. Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. Peacemakers get squashed. We got a long list of them. Martin Luther King, John Lennon talked about peace. He was against the war. Who else? Michael Jackson. Oops. He was doing these things with a bunch of celebrities. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. So he was bringing all these celebrities together. There was multiple songs which are about, environmental destruction, healing the world. Then, according to Carrie Fisher, I read it in 4 pages in her book, in her autobiography. There was a dentist, her dentist, she would talk to him for hours. And he would go on and on about how he became friends with Michael Jackson, and he took his son over there, and his son is really good looking, and Michael Jackson is in big trouble, and he's going to go after Michael Jackson, and he's going to get a lot of money. And then the dentist accused Michael Jackson of abusing his son. Michael Jackson, his son would go over there with the mother, and then the son would say, "Oh, can I sleep in your room, Michael Jackson?" And he was like, "Well, he's like a son to me now, so okay, all right." Probably a really bad idea. But according to the dentist and Carrie Fisher, it's right there in her book, 4 pages, that she was certain that it was complete garbage, the accusations that Michael Jackson abused the dentist's son. And then she told Gavin DeBecker, a really good friend of hers from childhood, and Gavin DeBecker is now the security team for Robert Kennedy, but it never came out. That was like during the trial. The truth never came out. It's sitting there right in Carrie Fisher's book. So I just had to squeak that one out there. Peacemakers get squashed. So I've got a book here by, Sutton, Joe Sutton, I think. Friends with his nephew for the last 35 years. And when he was starting out in Hollywood, he was the agent for Oprah and who else? Multiple other celebrities. But when he was just getting started, he started to get clients that were very talented. And then William Morris, one of the top celebrity agencies, they sent 2 of their agents to sit down with him in person. And they started threatening to harm his family. And his first thought was mafia. That's what he wrote in his book. Mafia. So fortunately, Mr. Sutton had a friend who was a top hitman for the mob. And so he called his friend, and then soon after he got a phone call from the William Morris agents who apologized, and they said, "You don't have to worry about it ever." And so he ended up having a real career in Hollywood with a bunch of celebrities, and there's the agency in Hollywood called Sutton and something else. They manage actors and actresses. So peacemakers, they get squashed. In my last 20 years of my peace projects that are about sharing God's plan with the whole world, I've had at least 10 deaths of people that were funding me, going to fund me, or going to work with me, including Tracy Reiner started working with me 10 years ago, and she was going to get her mom involved, Penny Marshall, and we were going to have my dad's book in a TV show. My dad was a professor of medicine at UCLA for 35 years. He wrote this book, In 12 Weeks You Can Control Your High Blood Pressure Without Drugs. It was first published in 1984, but this is the updated version. We updated it in 2000, and it's available on Amazon. It says we're all getting sick from stress, including all the bad news that our leaders are creating. When they're constantly fighting and we're worried about it, it brings our stress up. When we're hearing about their wars in the Middle East and all over, it brings our stress up. And that's why 50% of Americans have hypertension right now. 95% of Americans get hypertension as they get older. It's a symptom of toxic stress overload and some degree of post-traumatic stress. Yes. George Soros, the billionaire, wrote right after 9/11 in his book, event like 9/11 traumatizes everybody. Everybody. Causes a split between their intellect and their instinct, and then causes depression, and then they can't think. They're operating on instinct. They get angry a lot, and they don't think. They can't think. It makes it hard to think. Some people have said that they want us that way so that we don't rise up. 300 plus a million Americans don't rise up and say, you got to stop the bullshit you're doing, the constant fighting. So they want us like a bunch of sheep, a bunch of lizard brain takes over. So that's what I've heard. Don't know for sure, but I'm aiming to find out. But what it says right here is, it agrees. So it says the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. That's why Jesus Christ got crucified. Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. So they want to make humans act badly, and so that God is angry with them. Yet I have set my king on the holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. So he's saying God wants us who represent him to stand on the hill and declare the word of God. So God wants us to take a stand against the devils that are running the country and working against his wishes. Now therefore, be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. So, let me mention Ryan Garcia. Is it Ryan Garcia, the boxer? Yeah, it's got to be Ryan Garcia, the boxer. So Ryan Garcia, the boxer, he had a great awakening a few years ago. Yeah. So he had a great awakening, and I was really blown away. He said that God spoke to me and healed me. So he was very depressed, and then he had this awakening. And if you watch his videos during that period, you can see he was a totally different person, calmer, kinder, and he wants to be on a mission with God. And he said that God told me that I'm on a mission and I'm part of the plan for getting God's ideas out to the whole world. And he also said something that's worth saying here. Ryan Garcia said that when he was 2 or 3 years old, he remembers being at Bohemian Grove where he saw other children being tortured and abused. Bohemian Grove is the place where President Bush and our leaders, Ronald Reagan, Nixon, President Nixon, they go every year and they participate in really frightening rituals. And it's a club for only men. And people like Alex Jones have accused them of doing a bunch of really abusive, disgusting things there. So Ryan Garcia said, I'm on a mission from God to bring them down, expose them. After I saw his videos, I tried really hard to contact him. Really hard. I sent emails, I went by his house and delivered my dad's book and some proposals. I went to his pastor. Oh yeah, that's the same one you go to. Dudley Rutherford. Yeah, that's why I went to him. Now I remember. So I went to him and I met with his pastor. I met with a junior pastor, and I showed him this Bible given to me by Chaplain Barber. I showed him these, and I gave him a letter, a 2-page letter, which explains my journey with my father over the last 20 years of trying to teach America and the world how to get healthy. And that it's right in here. My dad had a patient come to him, and it's worth reading if I can find it fast. There's a chapter about forgiveness. So it says his patient, his name was Ollie, and it says his blood pressure was really high. It was life-threatening. And so Ollie was Catholic. And so my dad said, I'm not going to be able to help you. These drugs aren't working. And what you really need to do is go see your priest, forgive your son-in-law, and you can get healthy. And so he did exactly that. He went to his priest, forgave his son-in-law, then he went around to everybody else he knew and forgave them. By the time he got to my dad, his blood pressure was down. He had a big smile on his face. And it was a major success story. So my dad didn't become Christian until 20 years later, but that one story proves that the ideas of Jesus Christ can heal the world. So I've recently connected with a church here in Austin just a week ago, and the pastor, I got a really warm reception by at least 20 people there. They were really interested in my dad's book and my ideas. very authentic, warm people. And he did a sermon. It's called the Family Life Church. He did a sermon all about forgiveness, and he said that Jesus Christ can help us forgive and not forget. And sometimes you got to talk to people who did something wrong, but and set them straight. But he had these 3 big rocks on a table, and he had a backpack, and he put the rocks in there and put the backpack on, and he said, we're all carrying around resentments, and it's weighing us down, and it makes us tired and sad and depressed. Well, that's one of the reasons that we get sick, is because when we're tired, that's a symptom of stress. It's right in here. There's a list of symptoms of stress: fatigue. And then we don't want to exercise. So 100 million Americans are obese. 100 million Americans are overweight because they're depressed and tired. They don't exercise. They're not, athletes. And then as they get older, their health just goes down until they suffer from illnesses, horrific suffering, and then they die 20 or 30 years earlier than they should. Taking a huge amount of drugs, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20. The doctors give them drugs for high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and then as they get sicker, they add more drugs. So I've got a video on my YouTube channel. I met a Vietnam veteran 4 years ago, and I've got another video on my YouTube channel with President Biden and Obama and Nancy Pelosi and Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Rockefeller, 19 of our top leaders. And Senator Kent Conrad said, millions of seniors are taking 16 drugs in bad combinations. It's making them sick and bankrupting Medicare. We got to do something about it, you guys. Well, they never did it. That was 15 years ago. I posted that video on my YouTube channel 12 years ago, and I've had nothing but trouble since then. So 10 years ago, Tracy Reiner tried to help me with that, and we were going to talk to her, get her mother involved, Penny Marshall. My father was the founding medical director of the Pritikin Longevity Center back in the 1970s. He brought in the investor. They bought a hotel on Santa Monica Beach where they'd have a bunch of celebrities and rich people stay there for a month, eat a fantastic healthy diet, exercise, make a bunch of friends, have good times and positive emotions. And they'd bring their stress down and their blood cholesterol, and they'd get off the drugs that the doctors gave them. So now it's the longest profitable residential healthy living program in the world in a Trump hotel on Miami Beach. Tracy Reiner's grandfather, Carl Reiner, was a spokesperson for 30 years. He died a couple years ago in his 90s. He lived that long because of my dad. His really good friend, Mel Brooks, he convinced him to participate. Mel Brooks just turned 100 thanks to my dad. So this is what's possible. So Tracy Reiner got on the phone with Bob Van Huvelen, who was Senator Kent Conrad's former chief of staff. And together we said, we explained to him about the 16 medicines. And he said, I'll just call my friend who works in the White House. And but the next time I talked to Bob Van Huvelen, he said, oh, well, he said it's all fine. Everything's handled. Not true. So 4 years ago, I was near here at a restaurant called the League Restaurant. And it was at night, and across the parking lot, I saw this senior man fall down. And so I ran over there and helped him up with his wife. And they thanked me, and then he started to walk off, and he was wobbling like he was drunk. So I said, "Are you okay? Do you need help driving home?" And I thought he was drunk. And he said, "Oh, no, no, it's just the medicines I'm on. I'm taking 16 drugs." So I started to record it because I've been working on the 16 drugs thing for a long time now, like 8 years at that point. And I recorded the whole conversation. It's on my YouTube channel. He was a Vietnam veteran. He said, "I'm taking 16 drugs, including lithium." And I said, "Well, you look healthy. You know, if my dad is specialized in getting people off those drugs, I'd like to help you find a doctor locally here who can help you reduce those drugs." And he said, "Okay." And he gave me his phone number. I tried to give him my dad's book, but his wife said, "You know, it looks valuable." And I said, "Well, I'm going to get a copy and I'll get it to you." But then I met with a professor at UT Austin and I asked him for help, but he wouldn't help me. He took one look at that letter about, millions of seniors are taking 16 drugs, and he said, "Hell no, I'm not going to help you." So at the same time, I was connecting with a couple celebrities here. Jared Padalecki. I went by his house, and I went by his co-star from Supernatural. I went by his place of business, the Family Business Brewing Company, and I delivered my letters and asked them for help with this problem. But then suddenly my dad got poisoned in Los Angeles by bad drugs. He was in a nursing home temporarily, and my mom showed him my dad's book and said no drugs, but they gave him 2 drugs that crippled him, and they cut off the physical therapy and forcibly discharged him home. And I had to fly back there, and he spent the next year and a half in bed, crippled. We had to roll him over and, clean him and feed him, and suffering until he died. It was a horrible, horrible experience. Medicare refused to give him physical therapy, which could have helped him walk again. So now I'm really pissed. And I'm on a mission to end that. So the whole time, the last 4 years I was taking care of my dad in California. Well, it was 2 years I was taking care of him. Then I was stuck there for a couple years. I kept thinking, I got to figure out a solution for that senior in Austin. I just flew back here 2 months ago. I found his address on the internet. I went down to his house. It was empty. I went and knocked on the door of the neighbor. He came out and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry to tell you that he died. He and his wife died." And he said that he was falling down. He fell down in the driveway. I had to go over and help him up. He fell down in the shower, and his wife called me because she couldn't get him up. And I had to go over there. So it's not right. It's disgusting. And our leaders are allowing it because they're sick as fuck. So they've been blocking us. So Tracy Reiner was going to help me 10 years ago. Her mom had cancer, Penny Marshall. She had cancer. She couldn't quit smoking. She was overweight. Tracy wanted to work with me because her grandfather was alive, thanks to Pritikin. So we were talking for a few weeks. She was going to do something with Major League Baseball because her mom produced a League of Their Own, which is about women in baseball, and Tracy Reiner was in it. And so they have a yearly celebrity baseball game, and they were going to they had a contract with Major League Baseball to have the year of including women and girls in baseball. And so she wanted me to participate in it. And so I said, well, what about the year of ending violence against women and girls? And we could have groups of women baseball or softball teams playing in a series of games to get the whole world's attention. It could be Taylor Swift and all of her best friends. And then Katy Perry and her best friends, they had been in like this public, maybe it was made up dispute. And so I said, yeah, let's get them playing baseball together. And then it could be a team of veteran women, a team of nurses who are women, a team of police officers who are women, a team of teachers who are women. Few months soon after that, Tracy Reiner's uncle died, Gary Marshall. Then we didn't talk for a few months. Then Carrie Fisher died, and then Debbie Reynolds died the next day. Carrie Fisher, they found cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy, and I find it hard to believe that she was doing cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy. She had an assistant. Then they got on a plane, and then she passed out, and when the plane landed, they had to take her to the hospital, and she died after a week, and they found cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy. So I find that hard to believe that she was doing those drugs around Christmas, and then there was no investigation. They didn't ask the assistant, or did anyone witness this? Who supplied the drugs, which they're supposed to do. No investigation. That derailed us for the next 5 years. But I talked to Tracy Reiner again, and she wanted to participate. So that's still on the agenda. So I'm telling you all this because I've got a big problem. I am a compulsive truth teller. Most people, when I tell them these things, they never want to have anything to do with me again. But I figure I'd rather people knew what they were getting into, because I wouldn't want something to happen and then their family member was saying, well, why didn't you tell us, man? Okay, so, but, you know, what I discovered is how to win. They poisoned my stepfather was supporting my mother. They were married, and I was, you know, staying in the house that was getting paid for. And then he got forced into a Alzheimer's facility, and my mom got falsely accused of abuse. There was no hearing. There was no chance for her to defend herself. They just took her husband, and then they kicked her out of her condominium. She had to live in hotels for over a year, spending over $100,000. And then he died. He got attacked first. And she tried to get him to go to the hospital, but he had bruises all over him, but they wouldn't let him. And then he died a couple months later under mysterious circumstances. So, and now for the last 6 years, her inheritance has been caught in the courts, the criminal courts, and $300,000. She hasn't been able to get any of it, and she spent probably $50,000 to $100,000 on attorneys. Every single one of them has been a criminal who did spend $20,000 or $30,000, and then they do nothing. It's a very stressful situation. It's taking care of my dad and all of that stuff has driven her blood pressure up, and I'm really having to work hard to keep it down because she's still upset about trying to get her money back. We've contacted dozens of attorneys. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to. It's not a big enough payoff for them. What am I getting? Let me get back on track. So this is the history of peacemakers. It's true exactly what they're saying in here, but things are lining up for a big win. Okay, I'm getting to that. And so I believe you're part of it. Manny Pacquiao, you're one of the few honest politicians, and you're not scared of anything, right? Ryan Garcia is not scared of anything. He's already had my proposals for at least a year, at least 2 years, and so he's been thinking about it. Our friend who goes to church with you, it's the same church that Ryan Garcia goes to. They've had my proposals for over 2 years now. I think they're going to help us. I asked them to introduce me 2 years ago. It didn't happen yet, but I think it's going to happen. So I believe God's plan is for all those leaders to be exposed so that they have to stop what they're doing. And, we've all sinned according to what it says in there. I've hurt people with, angry comments and getting angry at people in the past. Fortunately, I haven't done any serious things that hurt people. I feel very fortunate. But for the people that are doing really bad things in our leadership circles, my goal is to share the healing plan of God and Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ doesn't want them to suffer. He doesn't want them to be crucified. He just wants them to stop what they're doing, and then they can be healed and they can be forgiven. So for them, they create all the prisons, which are filled with over 1 million Americans, and where people are tortured and abused and they're going hungry. It's disgusting. But Jesus Christ came to end that also. That is contrary to God's plan. The plan of Jesus Christ, which I've been empowered to share, is an invitation. President Trump, this is a message for you. Please, just stop now, and you can be forgiven in an instant. The world we live in thinks that you should be prosecuted and you should suffer and you should go to jail for what you're doing. The Epstein crimes, your good friend, which the signs are that you are hung out with him enough to participate in what he was doing. God's plan is for it to stop and to be everybody to be forgiven. The victims and their attorneys seem to be calling for, punishment, but I want to share with them God's plan is Jesus came to heal the sinner and the saint, not to crucify, not to punish. So it says right in there that the angels in heaven will rejoice for the sinner who stops. I don't remember the exact phrase, but it's a good thing, okay? You can be the hero. You can go from zero to hero just in an instant. Just in an instant. You accept the plan of God and Jesus Christ, and you can be washed clean of all of your sins and become a new person. It's an amazing phenomenon. So we can break the cycle of violence, the cycle of suffering, which has been going on for all of human history. And that's what I believe God is lining up for us. If you watch my other videos, you can hear more about it. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say. I really appreciate my new friend who knows you. Let's see, I think his name is Ike. Yeah, that is a powerful name. So we talked once today, we've talked twice already, and he was just completely open to everything I'm saying. And so that's what this is about. It's about bringing people who, what it says in the Bible is that at this point in history, we're going to preach the Word of God and we're going to be heard all over the world. It says it's going to be preached on the rooftops. That means for the whole world to hear. And then the whole world will rise to the occasion. So that's what it says. And after I met Chaplain Barber, I got the whole plan. So I've gone to 20 different churches and they slammed the door. Even the one I went to a few weeks ago. But this last one, it was the first one where 15 to 20 people said, "Really? Wow, Chris, your dad's book, you're saying that we can reverse most illnesses? Because they're all suffering. Some of them have high blood pressure. I met one man who was in his 70s, and his wife just died a few years ago. He's still carrying around a heavy burden of the pain of losing his wife. So is his son, and he's partially estranged from his son. So he's got a double heavy burden right now." And so I said, your church here has the answers. You just have to do deeper work. And so we're creating a group, a Bible study group, and we're going to read my dad's book. It's available on Amazon, and we're going to read it, and you have to make the rubber meet the road. So you got to take your pain and you talk about it in the group, and then you talk about how do we heal that. And, that's what Dr. Charles Figley, is one of the creators of the concept of post-traumatic stress back in the 1980s. I may have already said that. And so that's what his cure is you learn all about it, and then your whole family learns about it, and maybe some of your friends who also need healing, and then you create a healing team and a healing plan. A car can't read its own manual and learn how to heal itself, but a human being can. And so by reading what's in here and working with your church, maybe a few times a week. Most of the churches I went to, they're empty all week. Empty. Except for Sunday, the members come running in like a bunch of stampeding cattle, and then right after the service, they all run out. But this church I went to a week ago, on Sunday, 4 days ago, it was the first place I went to where they have this huge lobby. They have free coffee and tea and drinks, and they have a bunch of sofas, and they had a bunch of tables around where you could join a study group, and some of them have books that they're reading out of, which are about how to heal with ideas from the Bible. And I was just in total shock. I met people that authentically cared about me, that they shared what was on their mind. They were able to have a two-way conversation. They weren't all clammed up. People that are traumatized and stressed out, they go like Myrtle the turtle. They recede into their shell and they can't talk. What good is freedom of speech if we can't talk with each other? It doesn't exist. It's really, really not good. So I think that's it. I'll talk more about this in my next video. But, I hope you can see, it's one thing to believe in impossible dreams. It's another thing to see that a dream is not impossible. You may think, oh, well, things are so messed up, Chris. It's impossible to make peace, and you can't go around and talk to the Iranians, and you can't go knock on the White House and get in there. Okay, but we can go on a YouTube channel with Jocko Willink and Leif Babin with 2 million followers and millions of viewers aside from that, and we can talk about how to heal the world. So I'm inviting Manny Pacquiao from where he is. Maybe he'll come out here soon also. But from where he is in the next few days, we could have a Zoom call, set up a high-quality camera there. Then, we have Leif Babin in Austin with me. We have Jocko Willink in San Diego. He's got his studio at his MMA gym. And we can have, like the Brady Bunch. They had like it was a TV show. 8 little squares, something like that. So you have each person that's part of the discussion, and we talk about our ideas, and we talk about what's in here. And then I got this idea of 10 celebrity men, best friends, and 10 celebrity women, best friends, going on a healing journey. And so that's where we could do it. And then, like I think I said, Taylor Swift has billions of views on her videos. I've got a couple connections to her friends, and we're going to invite her to participate. They're all depressed. All of Taylor Swift's best friends have said in detail publicly. I've got a chart with 100 celebrities and 20 of her best friends that have said publicly, I'm super, super depressed. Lena Dunham, Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid. And then they're best friends with Paris Hilton. She's super depressed. She has post-traumatic stress disorder. And she's on a mission of healing. So we're going to invite all those people. They're sincerely looking for answer. Zachary Levi left Hollywood, and he bought 60 acres in Austin where he wants to build a healing ranch and a new studio. Right after he left Hollywood and quit smoking and drinking and broke up with his girlfriend, he was super depressed and he felt suicidal. So he went into a beautiful hotel for a month of therapy, and he talked all about his horrific childhood where his mom had a major problem. So she was traumatized from what she grew up with, and she was coping with alcohol. And when he was growing up, no free mental health care. So that's terrible. You kids, there's nobody to call except the police. It's just not right. And then the police show up and arrest daddy or mommy and drag them away. And then when they get out, they're really pissed at the kid. Bad situation. It's batshit crazy. So kids that are getting bullied in school over here, no free mental health care. What little counseling they may have, it's totally inadequate, and the people are inadequately trained. We need to have, and we could hire veterans to do this, people that make friends with them, and they have lots of people to turn to. And then if a family's having a problem, you can send a counselor to their house who's highly trained to do family counseling. That's what the cure is, according to Dr. Figley. Counsel the whole family. So instead of putting kids into foster care and then they get abused some more, family counseling. Instead of families are going hungry and then daddy can't find a job and he's drinking and then he's abusive, guarantee their food for the people that are stuck in poverty until you can lead them and guide them to get out of poverty and find a job. So that's what we're after. Oh, but I forgot the most important thing, let me finish up with that. What I told Ike about, he's Filipino. My brother and I, my brother mostly has been working on it over the last 5 years. He's been buying up antiques from the Philippines. Swords, all kinds of swords, swords, and shields and armor. Some of them are over 100 years old. There was multiple wars, civil invasions. So outsiders who took over the Philippines and killed a lot of people, including the United States. So Teddy Roosevelt and his military, they went in there and they had torture, and they invented waterboarding then, and they had rape and kidnapping, and they killed maybe 100,000 civilians. I want to be one of the people to apologize to the Filipino people and say we want to make up for that. So in my opinion, we owe some reparations to the Philippines, and it might be billions of dollars. And I believe that's why there's so much poverty there. The 20 or 30 cities, small cities, where they have extreme poverty, garbage everywhere, and the kids are eating out of the garbage cans. Then they have human, trafficking of children, because there's a cycle of dysfunction. The perpetrators grew up in their own hell, and this has been something that's been going on for a long time, and I believe that we have a responsibility as Americans to apologize and make up for it, and we can afford it if we're making peace with our enemies around the world, and then we can become the hero to those countries. And I believe that's what God's plan is. I believe that's what God's plan is for America. When our leaders created our Constitution, I believe that's what our divine destiny is. So I've got an idea that we would work with some famous Filipinos like you, Manny Pacquiao, Bruno Mars is from Hawaii, but he's Filipino ancestry. I've got a friend, and my friend's cousin works for Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is really depressed. His mother died a few years ago, and he's really upset about that. They had a reunion concert when it was his first, I think it was his first time he played in the Philippines, and where he got exposed to his culture. And it was soon after that his mother died, and he'd been not spending enough time with her. And so now he's really depressed. And so he needs healing too. And so I got this idea of giving a group of famous Filipino celebrities a gift of one of our swords. And then you would learn about your ancestry, and you would learn about the occupations by the United States and other countries, and reflect on how that might be still affecting the whole country. And I've got an idea of delivering some swords to every Christian church in the Philippines, maybe some of the Muslim churches. Muslims believe in Jesus Christ also. They see his value. This war between the Muslims and the Christians is completely fabricated by our leaders. So I've got a vision regarding bringing them together and saying, hey guys, you believe in Jesus Christ, both of you. Let's put the past in the past. Good ideas should be shared, I believe. Anyway, that's my idea. The swords, they tell a story. So in the churches around the Philippines, it could go to hundreds of churches. I don't know how many there are. There may be thousands. And then people from the community can come in there, see the swords, and learn about the healing plan of Jesus Christ. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your humanitarian activities. You're a humanitarian. Humanitarians are human. They have the full spectrum of human faculties of empathy for our fellow man. You look out and you can see and you can feel the suffering of others, and that creates a motivation to help them. But Ike has been going over the Philippines and going to communities of extreme poverty and delivering medical supplies and food. And he told me that he went there and it was like not enough. He was embarrassed because there was a bunch of people that needed help, and he only had enough to help a minority of them. So that's a horrible thing, is going there and wanting to help people, and then you can't help them all. And you got to leave with, in your mind, I left all those people suffering. So I want to unburden him too. Let's deliver adequate solutions. We can do it. And then it'll make us all feel good and happy. That's the secret to happiness that I discovered in here. I think I might have said this. It says in there, perfect fear casteth out love. There's a song by the Black Eyed Peas, Where is the Love? Very important song. Where is the love? People are killing and people are dying. Where's the love? Well, perfect fear casteth out love. It's the reverse of what's in the Bible. Perfect fear casteth out love. So when children are abused, they grow up with hard hearts. Too long a sacrifice maketh a stone of the heart. Hurt people hurt people. So, bad news stress turns off happy chemicals in our brains. Then we turn to junk food, nicotine, alcohol, and illegal drugs. That's a simple equation. It's a basic fact. Toxic stress turns off the happy chemicals. That's dopamine. Nicotine, alcohol, illegal drugs, and sugar, junk food, deep fried food, it stimulates the dopamine, turns it back on. So people live lives of quiet desperation, going from one addiction to the next to try to boost those happy chemicals. But if they can let the truth in, then together we can identify our stressors. That's the secret of my dad's book. He has a list of the things that can cause you stress, and then next to it, you put a score, and then you add it up, and that's your allostatic load. It's the load, the burden you're carrying that the pastor at Family Life Church, Pastor Randy, that's what he talks about. The rocks that we're carrying around in a backpack. So we can unburden ourselves, okay? And we can tell people the secret to unburdening themselves. Pastor Randy's video has only been seen by a few hundred people or something. By going on the Jocko and Leaf Babin podcast with 2 million followers, we could talk about that idea and get millions or billions of people watching Pastor Randy's videos. He's got a lot of incredible ideas. Okay, the remedy is already available. I've identified, all these books have incredible ideas, and I've identified videos that have incredible ideas. But, the solutions are not getting out there. And so that's the power of starlight. You're a star. You are like a god. You are like a power of the gods. Okay, the power to be heard all over the world. You're like little gods, mini gods, okay? I challenge you to use that power. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.